Kael Roran woke to silence that felt unnatural, like the planet itself had stopped breathing. His transport ship had been torn apart 3 days ago by pirate fire, leaving him alone on a frozen border world mapped as non-viable for life. The sky was gray, the wind sharp enough to cut skin, and the ground beneath him was a field of cracked ice and buried metal. He checked his pack again. One emergency ration remained. One, enough to keep him alive for maybe another day if he stayed still and waited for rescue that might never come. But Kael never liked waiting to die. He moved through the wreckage of his broken ship, scavenging for anything that could send a signal. A coil here, a broken emitter there. Every step felt heavier, like the planet was slowly pulling him down into its frozen grave. Then the wind changed. Through the screaming sandstorm came something impossible. A voice. It was faint, distorted, broken by distance and interference, but the universal translator in his suit barely caught it. "Help, please, anyone." Kael froze. No human ships were logged in this sector. No destinies. No survivors. And yet the signal repeated again, weaker this time, like someone fighting to stay conscious just long enough to be heard. Against every survival rule he had ever learned, he followed it. The storm swallowed him, tearing visibility down to nothing. Minutes felt like hours until he saw it, half-buried shape beneath layers of ice and shattered rock. At first, he thought it was wreckage. Then it moved. A girl, not human. Her armor was advanced, carved with royal markings he didn't recognize, glowing faintly under frost and burns. Energy scorch marks covered her body. She had been hunted, executed, and left to die in silence. His suit flashed an alert. Unknown royal entity, high-value target. Kael's breath tightened. Royalty meant power. Power meant danger. Danger meant death. He should have walked away. He had one ration left, one chance at survival. No one would blame him for leaving. The alien girl opened her eyes, and in them there was no command, no superiority, only fear. "I was betrayed," she whispered, her voice breaking through static. "Please don't let me die alone." Kael stood still. The storm roared around them like a living thing, waiting for his decision. Every instinct screamed at him to turn away, but something deeper held him there. Slowly he knelt. His hands moved without permission. He pulled out his only ration pack. The choice was simple: live alone, or die helping a stranger. Kael tore it open. He placed the food into her trembling hands. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then he said quietly, "Don't waste it." Kael Roran hauled the injured alien through the collapsing storm like she weighed more than metal. The wind on the dead border planet had turned violent, slamming shards of ice and sand against everything exposed. Visibility vanished completely as he dragged her toward the only structure still standing, a half-buried maintenance shelter from a forgotten mining operation. Inside, the air was thin, metallic, and cold enough to sting the lungs. He lowered her carefully onto the floor. The alien girl. No, not a girl. Kael corrected himself as he noticed the royal insignia burned into her armor, barely moved. Her breathing was shallow, unstable, as if her body was arguing with itself about whether to keep going. Outside, the storm screamed louder, sealing them in like a tomb. Hours passed. Then she woke. Her eyes opened sharply, glowing faintly in the dim emergency light. Instantly, her body tensed. Instinctive, controlled, dangerous. She looked at Kael as if he shouldn't exist. "You are human," she said, the word carrying disbelief more than insult. Kael didn't answer right away. He was checking the shelter's broken power cells, trying to keep heat alive. "Yes," he finally said. "Last time I checked." Silence stretched between them. Her gaze sharpened. "Why did you save me?" That question was heavier than the storm. Kael shrugged slightly. Didn't have a better option. That answer confused her more than it reassured her. She forced herself upright, wincing as pain flickered across her face. "I am Seralith of the Varelian Empire. My fleet was destroyed during a coup. My own corps turned on me. I escaped, but they are still hunting me." Kael listened without emotion, as if hearing another survival story in a long list of disasters. Seralith reached for her wrist device, A small royal beacon, her last link to salvation. It was shattered. Her expression tightened for the first time. Outside, something changed. The storm didn't stop, but it shifted. Controlled movement. Too precise to be natural. Kael noticed immediately. "They found us," he muttered. Before Sarilith could react, the shelter's outer wall exploded inward with a silent blast of energy. Figures moved through the dust. Armored assassins, their weapons humming softly, tracking her residual signature like hunters following blood and water. Kael acted before fear could form. He grabbed salvage tech from the wreckage, a jury-rigged pulse emitter and fragments of the ship's defense grid. It wasn't meant for combat. Nothing here was, but he made it work anyway. The shelter lit up with flashes of chaotic energy. One assassin went down. Another hesitated. Kael didn't fight like a soldier. He fought like something cornered, unpredictable, refusing to die. And somehow it was enough. The attackers withdrew into the storm, but not before projecting a final message through the ruined doorway. "You are protecting a dead princess. Her empire will erase you for touching her." Silence returned, heavier than before. Sarilith stared at Kael, as if seeing him for the first time. "You should have left me to die," she said quietly. Not cruelly, almost like a truth she regretted. Kael checked the damaged emitter, not looking at her. "Maybe," he said. He finally met her gaze. "But I didn't." The silence outside the shelter grows heavier with every passing hour, as if the planet itself has accepted their fate. Kael keeps repairing what little remains of their broken shelter systems, forcing heat and light to orbit above the dead border world suddenly ignited with movement. Massive alien warships unfolded from hyperspace like predators waking up. Their hulls darkened the sky, blocking out the faint light of distant stars. One by one, they formed a perfect ring around the planet, sealing every possible escape route. There was no warning shot, no negotiation, only certainty, erasure. Inside the ruined shelter, Kael stood still for a long moment, staring at the sky through a cracked ceiling panel. He didn't look surprised. He looked finished, as if he had already expected the universe to end like this. Sarilith watched him carefully. "We cannot escape," she said. "Even I cannot call help now." Kael slowly exhaled. "Then we don't escape." He turned toward the wreckage around them. Broken power cells, collapsed mining rigs, fractured gravitational stabilizers buried under ice. Instead of despair, his mind started calculating. Sarilith stepped closer. "What are you doing?" Kael pointed toward the planet's core readouts, flickering on a damaged console. "If they want the planet, we make the planet bite back." He began assembling something impossible. A trap using unstable energy conduits, debris fields, and collapsed orbital fragments still locked in low gravity. It wasn't engineering in any traditional sense. It was improvisation built on desperation, bending physics like a tool rather than a rule. Sarilith grabbed his arm. "That is suicide. You cannot fight a fleet with scraps." Kael didn't look at her. "Human survival has never been about winning," he said calmly. "It's about delaying losing long enough for something impossible to happen." Above them, a transmission cracked through the air. "Planetary asset," the fleet commander announced coldly. "Surrender the Varelian fugitive, or we begin planetary sterilization." Kael stepped forward and activated a simple open channel. One word. "No." Then he shut it off. The fleet responded instantly. Energy beams carved across the atmosphere. Kael triggered his trap, redirected energy fields, false distress signals, and decoy heat signatures spread across the surface. Ships began drifting off course, misreading terrain that no longer behaved like terrain. One cruiser tore itself apart against a hidden gravitational pocket. Another vanished into debris, collapsed like it had been swallowed. Sarilith watched in stunned silence. This wasn't advanced warfare. It was survival intelligence, raw, unpredictable, and terrifyingly effective. But the fleet adapted. Fast. Too fast. The sky darkened further as countermeasures activated. The shelter began shaking violently. Ice shattered. Walls cracked open. Systems started failing one by one. They were losing. Seralith finally understood what Kael had already accepted. He was not planning to survive. He was planning to delay extinction until the last possible second. Kael, she whispered, voice shaking. You will die here. He didn't answer. He just kept working. Then Seralith made a decision. She activated a hidden royal override buried deep within her neural command code. Ancient Varelian battlefield protocols stored in forgotten Empire systems beneath the planet's crust. Power surged through her interface. But the cost was immediate. A beacon spike shot into space. Every surviving enemy would now know exactly where she was. Kael finally turned to her. If you still have a kingdom left, he said quietly, use it. Seralith hesitated. Then she pressed the command. The planet answered. All at once, buried systems awakened beneath the ice, and the entire world began to move. The moment Seralith activated the royal override, the planet stopped behaving like a dead world. The ice beneath them fractured in perfect geometric